Did you know that all these hours we're spending on screens are making our eyes vulnerable to dry eye and eye strain? Yet we all, me included, continue to stare at screens all day. Not only does this put strain on your eyes, but it also causes vision problems, stiff shoulders, and headaches. I'm Dr. Michael Chua. I'm a board-certified ophthalmologist with Puente Hills Eye Care, and in this video, I'll explain digital eye strain, what it is, what causes it, and the 5 best ways to treat and prevent it. According to a 2023 report from Data Reportal, the average American spends 7 hours and 4 minutes looking at screens per day, while globally, average screen time is 6 hours and 58 minutes. Unfortunately, all this extra screen time is also causing an explosion in the prevalence of eye strain and computer vision syndrome. Eye doctors may call it eye strain, digital eye strain, or computer vision syndrome. The terms are used interchangeably, but the point is, spending too much time on a screen can cause a lot of discomfort to your eyes and can also cause problems to your vision. Previous studies have found that our eyes become vulnerable after about 4 hours of screen time, and that there's a dose-dependent effect. That is, the more time we spend staring at screens, the higher likelihood we are to develop eye strain and discomfort. So what is digital eye strain? Digital eye strain is a term we use to describe a number of symptoms and issues that can develop when you spend too much time in front of digital screens. These screens are all around us. In fact, research from the Pew Research Center shows us that 97% of Americans own a cell phone, 85% own a smartphone, while 77% own either a laptop or desktop computer. With such a high prevalence of smartphone, computer, and TV ownership in modern society, it's only natural that our screen time and also the prevalence of digital eye strain is continuing to increase. Something important I should mention here. Digital eye strain usually doesn't only include symptoms linked to your eyes. In fact, many people with digital eye strain usually experience other physical symptoms, things like back pain, neck stiffness, and headaches. So if we don't address the underlying problem, we can continue to get worsening symptoms, things like dry eye inflammation, neck pain, and back pain. Computer vision syndrome is very common in today's modern society. A recent meta-analysis from January 2023 reviewed all the previous studies on the prevalence of computer vision syndrome and found that 66% of people had experienced some form of computer vision syndrome. If you're not sure if you have digital eye strain, consider these symptoms. As you continue to expose your eyes to digital screens, you might feel shoulder and neck pain, headaches, and pain in your back. They're not directly linked to your eyes, but are related to our posture when working on screens for extended periods of time. In terms of ocular symptoms, the classic symptom we eye doctors hear about is what we call asthenopia. Asthenopia is the medical term for basically eye strain, consisting of eye fatigue, discomfort, headaches, or weakness or tiring of the eyes with intermittent blurry vision and sensitivity to light. Patients often mention that their eyes feel achy or the area around their eyes can feel sore or painful. Redness, tearing, burning, and foreign body sensations are also common symptoms of digital eye strain and are usually related to eye dryness. And so, what are the root causes of how screen time can cause these symptoms? Well, there's a few processes involved, and it's important that we understand these root causes so we can design effective ways to prevent and treat our symptoms. The most common cause for our eye irritation is dry eye. Research studies have shown that when we're relaxing, we blink around 22 times per minute. But when we are reading or working on a screen, we become so focused on what we're looking at that, on average, our blink rate drops down to 5 to 7 blinks per minute. And that decreased blink rate means one thing: worsened dry eye. That's because the longer our eyes stay open in between blinks, the more our tears evaporate, which leaves our cornea exposed to external damage, which leads to more severe dry eye symptoms such as eye irritation, greediness, and eye redness. One of the other causes of our computer vision symptoms is strain of the ciliary muscle. The ciliary muscle is a special muscle in our eyes that basically allows us to autofocus. As we look around our visual world, our ciliary muscle is constantly flexing and relaxing to change the shape of the lens inside our eyes. This allows us to keep everything in focus. For example, when we look at an object in the distance, the ciliary muscle relaxes, the lens flattens, and things are in focus. But when we want to look at something closer up, perhaps a computer screen or the smartphone in our hand, then our ciliary muscle needs to contract, which makes our lens more roundly shaped, which gives it more focusing power, allowing us to keep near objects in focus. This process is what we call accommodation. And so, when we're focusing on near objects for long periods of time, we can strain our ciliary muscles because it's working hard to keep these near objects in focus. Unfortunately, as we all get older, usually beginning in our 40s and 50s, the lens inside our eyes becomes more stiff and we lose the ability to autofocus on the things up close. And even if our ciliary muscles are still straining and trying to get those near objects in focus, because our lens is so stiff, we just can't get the focus right. This is why you may start to need to wear reading or computer glasses around that age. This process of losing the ability to focus on things up close is called presbyopia. And so we hear eye strain symptoms more commonly in patients in their 40s to 60s because they're beginning to go through presbyopia and they're losing their ability to autofocus on near objects. but the ciliary muscle in their eyes are straining and still trying to get those objects into focus. I also often hear complaints of eye strain in patients who may be nearsighted and have too strong of a prescription. When nearsighted patients have a prescription that's too strong, then the ciliary muscle needs to constantly work to keep everything in focus. After we give them a slightly lower prescription, their eye strain symptoms improve. Okay, now that we understand what causes eye strain, let's go through the best ways to prevent it. I know that sometimes it's not really possible for everyone to just cut back on their screen time. Maybe you need your computer for work or school, but there are still some things you can do. Let's start with ergonomics. Several research papers have outlined some of the best ways to optimize your workspace area to prevent muscle soreness and eye strain. So let's go through them here. The center of the monitor should be just below eye level. Many research studies have meticulously measured viewing angle to try to find the optimal viewing angle for your screen. And the results differ a bit from study to study, but generally, the center of your monitor should be about 10 to 15 degrees below your eye level. Now, I don't expect you to whip out a protractor to measure your viewing angle, but if you want to be a nerd like me about it, you can take a selfie, then use a free app called Angle Meter to directly measure your viewing angle. When you're looking slightly down, your neck and shoulder muscles can relax, and your eyelids can come down slightly over the top half of your eyes, making it easier to blink. Taller monitor heights cause you to crane your neck and look up, which causes strain in your neck and upper trapezius muscles, and it also causes you to peel your upper eyelids back, leaving your cornea and eyes more exposed to the dry room environment, and it requires more effort to get a good quality blink. In terms of monitor distance, research studies recommend at least 50 to 60 centimeters, or about 2 feet, or basically slightly longer than an arm's length for computer monitors. For smartphones, researchers have found that on average, we hold our phones about 30 centimeters or about 1 foot away from our eyes. In this study, researchers observed research subjects as they used their smartphones for 1 hour. The researchers found that as the hour progressed, research subjects experienced significantly more tired eyes, eye discomfort, and blur after 60 minutes compared to baseline. They also found that research subjects naturally began to hold their smartphones closer and closer to their face as time went on. They had a few different theories of why people kept holding their phones closer and closer to their face. It could be that people's arms were starting to get tired. It could also be that their vision was starting to get more blurry, so they wanted to hold the screen closer to their face to make it more clear. It could also be that as patients were accommodating and focusing on their near object, it was inducing a temporary nearsightedness, nudging them to slowly bring the screen closer and closer. Whatever the reason, I agree with their observation, and I find that if I'm on my phone for longer periods of time, I have a natural tendency to slowly bring it closer to my face too. The problem with that though is it's a self-defeating strategy. As our screen gets closer and closer to our eyes, our ciliary muscles need to work harder and harder to keep the image in focus. That strain on our ciliary muscles induces more asynopia as well as more discomfort and blur, which makes us bring the phone even closer to try to clear up the image. But then it becomes a vicious cycle of nearer and nearer work and more eye discomfort. So, for smartphone usage, try to keep those screens far away from your face. And if you catch yourself wanting to bring the phone closer to your face, 1, that might be a sign that you've been on your phone too long. And 2, try to be cognizant of screen distance and try to keep it at least a foot away from your face. Okay, back to ergonomic optimization. You want your head and neck to be balanced and in line with your torso. Try avoiding a forward neck posture as this increases strain on your upper neck and shoulder muscles. You want your shoulders to be relaxed. When I'm in deep concentration, particularly on days I'm doing surgery, I have a tendency to raise my shoulders and tense up my upper back muscles, and I usually feel it the next few days. So be mindful about relaxing and dropping your shoulders, especially when you're concentrating. Your elbows should be close to the torso and supported by armrests. And you want to keep your wrists and hands generally in line with your forearms. Ideally, your chair should have lower back and head support. You want your feet lying flat on the floor. If they're hanging or you have to be on your tippy toes, you can put some sort of footrest so they're supported. As for reducing eye strain and the ocular symptoms associated with computer vision syndrome, we want to take a look at things like lighting, eye drops, and taking breaks. Let's start with breaks. How long do you sit in one session in front of a computer or on your smartphone? Many people, me included, often spend over an hour in a single session when they're in front of a screen, and that's contributing to the strain you're placing on your eyes. There's the 20-20-20 rule that you should consider. Every 20 minutes, give yourself a 20-second blink break. Make a concerted effort to get good quality blinks, and stare out at something in the distance, at least 20 feet away. Eye drops are also something that can be used when managing digital eye strain. I cover dry eye and different eye drops in depth in several other videos here, but aim to use oil-based artificial tears such as Systane Complete or Retain MGD. These special eye drops have oil in them, and this oil forms a protective layer over your tears to prevent your tears from evaporating. This is particularly important when you're looking at a screen because, as we mentioned earlier, we often forget to blink when we're looking at screens. This increases the evaporation of our tears and leaves our cornea dry and vulnerable. Our environment also plays a large role in our digital eye strain. Things like lighting, screen brightness, and humidity levels in our rooms all have a significant effect on our eyes. So let's first look at lighting. You should avoid lights that shine directly into your eyes or onto the screens you use. This can cause glare, which can increase the amount of strain you place on your eyes. A research study investigated the effect of screen brightness on eye fatigue and found that in low light conditions, medium and high brightness screens cause significantly more eye fatigue than low brightness screens. So, particularly in lower lighting conditions like indoors during the evening, make an effort to try to lower the brightness on your screen to decrease eye strain symptoms. Lastly, control the humidity levels in your environment. Several research studies have shown that dry environments significantly influence the prevalence of dry eye and our dry eye symptoms. The ideal indoor relative humidity for dry eye is 45%. So if you're not sure what the relative humidity is in your home or office, you can buy a hygrometer, or basically a device that measures the ambient relative humidity in your environment. You can find one on Amazon for pretty cheap. Or even better, you can get a humidifier with a built-in hygrometer, so that you can set the relative humidity that you want, and the humidifier self-calibrates its mist output so that it keeps the relative humidity in your room exactly where you want it. Ultimately, reducing our screen time is an obvious solution to try to reduce digital eye strain. Remember, digital eye strain is dose dependent. So, the more time we spend on screens, the more we increase our risk of developing eye strain symptoms. And we also increase the severity of our symptoms. The problem is, though, that we're becoming more and more reliant on digital devices for everyday life, from work to school to leisure activity. But it helps to sit down and think where you can cut down on your screen time in your daily life. If you found the information in this video helpful, remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for future videos. And if you're in the Inland Empire, Los Angeles, or Orange County area and have concerns with digital eye strain, visit our website or call our office to make an appointment today. I'm Dr. Michael Chua with Puente Hills Eye Care. See you next time.